Three, two. What's up?
Good morning.
How's everybody feeling? This is another episode of Love Us. Um, Hopefully, everybody's off to a great start. It's also Black History Month,
It is.
so
Happy, happy.
happy Black History Month. Hopefully, throughout the month, you take time to do a little bit of research. Um, History is a big part of how you're going to shape your future. So just realize who we are. Also, keep yourself grounded. Just to understand where you come from, understand your value, understand your worth. But have a little fun too. Celebrate yourself this month.
Indeed. Find that identity. Let that light shine.
Exactly. It's funny because we talk about things in terms of identity, but I feel like we never specifically say on the show like what is your identity and
Mm.
like, what do you identify as? Who are you? And like what's your personal ethos? But with it being Black History Month, I think it's huge that we speak on something that was a big bang for the start of the month. And
Agreed.
I'm not talking about Rihanna and ASAP Rocky having a baby on the way. I'm talking about Brian Flores. Brian Flores was was the previous coach for the Miami Dolphins.
Hmm.
Um, After a season by many who think that he did a great job in terms of a coach, was let go. So it's kind of surprising to many. Um, but when the news came out, recently he filed a lawsuit against a couple NFL ball clubs, the New York Giants, New York Football Giants, the Denver Broncos, as well as the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins lawsuit is a little bit different than the Denver Broncos and Giants, but just to kind of summarize everything, Bill Belichick, who he came into the league under as a coach, sent him a text saying, "Congrats! It's looking like the New York Giants job will be yours if you want it." And I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially, he sent it to the wrong Brian.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
there's been a meme going around saying that Bill's phone now, white Brian and black Brian. Um,
Sick. He really sick.
but essentially, Brian, who is currently one of the coordinators for the Buffalo Bills, um, got the job for the New York Giants. But the important piece to understand is that Bill Belichick sent it to Brian Flores 3 days before he even interviewed for the role.
Right.
So he was telling someone that they had the job before all the candidates had even been interviewed. So whether you're a coach or anywhere in corporate America, if you're in the middle of a process thinking you have a fair opportunity or a chance to really speak to your value, speak to the opportunity, and kind of show what you can bring to the table, and before you even get there, the job is given away, it kind of feels like a waste of time. I would honestly appreciate if I was in the shoes, if you told me before the interview became, "Hey, we filled the role, but we'll keep you in mind in the future." I think
Right.
it's respectable. All parties involved can say, you know what, like they were honest with me. They didn't have me come up there and do a 9 hour interview for
But
nothing.
it speaks to another part of that lawsuit, which addresses the Rooney Rule, which it now, when you still interview a guy, when you know who you're going to pick, it looks like you're just checking that Rooney Rule box off. So it's a lot around this. It's a lot around this, and honestly, Flores, he looks like he's in a good position. I mean, the only thing you could do now is tear his character down somehow, find something from 30 years ago, or you could figure out a way to catch him slipping now or drown him in lawyer fees. That's all you could do. The guy has been a consummate pro. He's never been in any type of legal trouble, no type of news. You could see the team, Miami rallies around him. So he's obviously a good guy, right? Because you saw that team the last 7 games, that stretch. They went
Exactly.
undefeated. It was like you don't do that unless you like the coach. You don't play hard unless you like the coach. So, he seems
Exactly.
like a good guy. So, I hope. And to be clear, and you painted that perfectly, right? The goal here is simply just to see more diversity in places of head coaches, ownership. That's the real goal. You know, it's going to drift in different directions as different opinions grab it. But at the end of the day, it's just about inclusion. So,
I'm glad you brought it up. And something I want to circle back to is the idea of the Rooney Rules. For anybody who doesn't know, the Rooneys are the owners of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they were kind of the reason for it. Uh, it's funny if you think about it. In the NFL right now, there's only one black head coach. and Mike Thomason, who is the head coach for the Steelers under the Rooneys.
Mhm.
So we actually now have less black coaches in the league than we had when the Rooney Rule was implemented.
When they implemented, yeah.
At that time, we had 3 black coaches. Right now, we have 1. So I say all this to say, the Rooney Rule essentially is in order to fill a role, you have to have a certain number of diverse candidates to also apply for the role. Now, Brian Flores.
To interview, right?
He has to interview for the role, correct. So thank you for that correction, sorry. But what I want to bring up is the idea that Brian Flores was someone who's seen as a great coach. And all the media had mentioned the great job he did at the end of the Miami Dolphins season, and thought that the firing was ill-advised, or it was like kind of baffling. People couldn't understand why he was fired.
Completely unsolicited. You don't fire a guy after that. No.
Right. So you we tried to unpack this and think about the fact that we all know he's a great coach. So if I go to say, hey, I'm gonna interview Brian Flores for this role, I'm not just throwing a random name in there. That's someone who holds status. But I know who my guy is. But if I interview this guy, it makes sense. He's diverse. We can bring him in. We can kind of spoon feed the media. Yeah, Brian Flores coming in. But in all actuality, we're going to hire the other guy who we think is probably younger or more fits the culture we want for the program. But this is before we even interview him. And I bring this up to say it's because this doesn't only happen in football.
Oh man,
it happens across the board. Like when people we go to apply for a role, when you ask them why they don't get the job, and they'll say something to the likes of a culture fit. If I'm looking, if the company's mission is to enhance diversity of the company, how can I tell someone who's different than me that they're not a culture fit? Because the goal is to bring in different coaches.
Someone different. Wow. Isn't that crazy?
Like, so that's the one thing you can say that legally you cannot be sued for. Like if I tell you because you're black or because of your sexual orientation or because you're short, you're tall, because all these are different things I can sue you for. The one thing I can't sue you for quite yet, I'm sure it's coming, is the fact that you're not a culture fit. So because on paper you can do the job. Like if I was to marry up your resume with someone else's, yours is either better or equal. GPA where it needs to be or above what we're asking. You have the background, like you have the experience with other firms, or you've done the due diligence, and we always say you paid your dues. But I can't talk the way I want to around you in a way that might not be offensive to you. So therefore, I can't bring you on my team.
That's how they're looking at it, for sure. Yeah. Or the other sick psychotics type shit you hear some people say. Yeah.
And it's just like, how do we get around that? Like, a lot of this stuff is simple. Like, if
getting in the seats. Getting in the seat, first of all, right? Because like for a football club, the owner calls the shots. And if they aren't in, the best health to do that, the GM does it, right? Is that fair? So
exactly.
If we get into these seats, then we'll see diversity. But I mean, and this is a good topic to bring up too, involving this is, do you feel like you've seen a wave of people that look like us that say, I want to own a sports team? I don't feel like I've seen that. I've heard bits and pieces. I mean, we heard P. Diddy, but I haven't really dug. I haven't watched TV in almost 10 years. So, but it's not like we rapping about it. You know what I'm saying?
I won't say that because there are people who are rapping about it and talking about it. I just don't feel like they have the platform. Like, I think it's kind of crazy because this is a great this is something that we can definitely dive into other things. But in terms of the idea, there are people talking about sports teams, being owners, having ownership, different things. We have to jump through so many bells and whistles because it is essentially a quote unquote good boys club. So you have to be let into it. Like when we have these owners and commissioner meetings every year, it's essentially to vote on what rules are moving forward, and who are we going to allow into there. That's a huge part of those meetings. So
Right.
you kind of have to be voted into it, or it's not just like you can have the money, but it takes more than money. Because also, as a seller, I have to be willing to give it to you. I have a selection in that process. So
So let me stop you right there. That puts us in a crazy confinement, right? Because now it's not like the I can't buy, essentially have the buying power to get in the door. You gotta like me enough to let me in.
yes.
So, but that's tough for me.
So think
That's
about it this
tough.
way. Have you ever seen the movie Django?
Of course.
Like when they were when he was going to Candyland and trying to buy his fighters, like he was like, he's never going to buy me, let me buy his first fighter. He's never going to let me buy his second best fighter, but the third fighter for the right price, he'll give it to me. When they give us something in terms of that, they're going to give us something they know they can beat, or something they have power or control over. So a prime example of that is going to be,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
it's either going to be irreparable, or they can't repair it, or it's going to take you a long time to do so, so that you're always going to be behind the eight ball, which is like
Hmm.
very synonymous with how life is. Like we're behind
Hmm.
the eight ball, and everything they give us isn't made for us to catch up. It's just made, it's given to you so that they have some type of goodwill or something that's seen positively.
There's got
So,
to be a way through that, though. There's
so the
got to
way
be a way through that.
so the way through that is not trying to be a part of their club. You need to create your own. Because we always talk about needing ownership. Even as an owner in their league, you still are an outcast. You still are going to be
Right.
one amongst many. So why not? If we say that in terms of from a financial standpoint, how about create our own league? Like a lot of these stadiums that these teams are using aren't necessarily owned by the owners. Some of the times it's just being leased out by that team. So we can
Hmm.
go use the same stadiums and create our own league. Essentially, if that's what we really want, the power to create that change. You have to create your own. Because one of my mentors used to always say, God bless the child that has his own.
Hmm.
The NFL isn't necessarily ours.
Right.
We've done great things there, but we've never been the bag man, meaning our name was never on that bottom line. So to expect a change something that is their baby, like
Hmm.
that, they're gonna fight tooth and nail. Like they will end that league before it's ever dominated by anyone else other than them. Like you can entertain us, you can perform for us, but
Hmm.
to say that I'm gonna give you that much power where you are making decisions on my behalf, no.
See, I think, you know, in my heart, I understand where you're coming from when you say start your own, and that's something I'd say as well. That's something I think is smart. But then it gets into like, all right, how far do we go where we're kind of doing the same shit they did? You know what I mean? There's got to be a way where we could say, you know what, this power thing, this money thing, this control thing ain't more important than equity for people. Like I really feel like that's it. Now this is the utopian talk, but got to get in the seats, man. It got to be one. It just got to be one guy that sparked change. Imagine if Dwayne Johnson owned, you name him. That changes the entire spectrum of like sports to me. How many people are WWE superstars now that looked up to that dude? How many people are football athletes, actors, athletes, just bodybuilders that look up, you know what I mean? The really influential people that really got their head on straight. Step up for real.
I
And
think
in
you
due
bring up.
time, I'll be that person. But we need it because this shit's getting out of hand, man. It really is. We having the
I
same
think
conversations over and over again, but we, it's like it's 50%. Like one side understands what's at stake and is willing to compromise. The other side is still denying that the shit exists.
And I think that's a big point in terms of, how could I put it? Who are the voices speaking up? Because I think that's important. If the conversation is always amongst the oppressed, like that's
Right.
not that's not creating any change, because the ones who need to hear it aren't a part of the conversation. And
Right.
when you do have these conversations as the oppressed, are you hearing the viewpoint from the other side? Because
Absolutely not. And I think that's important too. That's why the conversation has to be had from
because
both ends.
a lot of times we get so offended or we feel disrespected when they're just telling you how they feel, or they're
Right.
telling you this is why. And we're like, that's so wrong. But no, I'm asking you, why are you doing this? And then when I tell you, like, you get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you have to be able
It's
to.
cultural. Like, we all are the same species, but culturally we exist differently. That's a fact. But
Exactly.
it's just like nowadays that those cultural differences it makes us adversaries versus it being some type of beacon of togetherness. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we all trying to figure out how to live anyway. So it's like,
Right.
why not have multiple examples and experiences and perspectives? It's like we closing off that shit. It's weird.
Here's what I think. We have to get to a point that when we have these tough conversations, we have to stop trying to compete on who has it worse.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we both have it pretty bad. That's why we're having this conversation.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
for us to get to a point where we're saying there needs to be a change, that means both parties have come to understanding that, like, wow, this ain't working.
Yeah.
So we both have it bad. Next thing needs to be that understanding piece. Like, get down to the reason of why you're doing what you're doing for both people. Then, only then can we provide an alternative or provide information on why are the effects that has on me. I get why you're doing it, but I'm letting you know this is how it's affecting me.
This is how it's impacting me. Yeah.
And we can't move forward with that. And
now, if you still continue to do that, now I need to do something different. I can't still sit here and say, hey, you're bothering me. You see they not acknowledging that, hey, you're bothering me, and then only ever do that. That's not it either. Right.
Exactly. And then that's when the course correct comes in. Like, create a plan of action, create something that is tangible you can move forward on, and something I can keep you accountable for, you can keep me accountable for. Hey, we had this conversation, I told you this bothered me, you're doing that again, or maybe we get past that, something else comes up. At least now when the next thing comes, we have that line of communication where I now can give you the benefit of the doubt.
It's established, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that just changes, just having communication changes how you interact. So when these certain situations where we're seeing certain group of people and a certain occupation, you see friction between those two. It's just a lack of communication. That's all it is. We just don't understand each other. You know what I mean? We see them and it's like, oh, those are those people, and they doing the same thing with us. So it's like, let's communicate. Like,
I love that.
Let's communicate.
I love communication, baby. Like, communication,
for real.
Communication can solve a lot of things.
I really feel like it solves everything. It solves everything. Because when you look at like what conflict is, that's just you replace communication. It's still interaction. It's not like you ending the interaction. Like, it's just a less efficient one for whatever you want, I guess. That's what your goal is.
I feel like communication, it's not only just words either. Like, communication is your action. Like,
it's respect. It's the intangible shit that you don't speak, that you just feel. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. Because even when you think about yourself, like, when you get up in the morning, let's say you don't brush your teeth, you don't wash your face, you don't make the bed, like, you don't do anything to, like, take care of you. You're communicating to yourself.
Exactly. Like, yes, sir.
You're telling yourself that either I'm not feeling well, or I'm over it, or something's communicating to yourself that you yourself, like, like,
yeah,
something needs to be corrected.
Right. Yeah.
And then, but just to get back to the idea of what we started off with Brian Flores and the job of things not being equitable, or like there's not enough equity for diverse coaches, particularly Black coaches in the NFL, and just across the board for a lot of different things. And if you're someone who's currently feeling like helpless, like you're doing the work that needs to be done, but you're going to these interviews or you're applying to roles and it feels like you're at a wall there, the best thing you can do is create a front office. What I mean by that is create a list of people or contact people who are where you want to get to. Or if they're not where you want to get to, there's somewhere that they have a place where they can figure out how to get you there. A lot of it, honestly, is just networking. And I think amongst the Black community is something that we can continue to improve upon. I don't want to say it's not there, because it is. There are a lot of people who have created networks to do so, but I won't say it's across the board. So I bring this up because if you think about a lot of opportunities, we have something called the referral system. So a lot of companies solely hire their interns based off of people in the company just referring their nieces, nephews, and neighbors. And because of who they are in the company, like, people are looking at it to essentially, they're going to hire them. If we have enough people who are willing to pay their dues and put in the work and go into these companies for what they want to do, and not just look for this like short-term gratification, climb the ranks, or if you're going to create your own company and do whatever, build it up to where you can expand and help others. You
become a reference now.
Exactly.
And we was talking about that in another episode where we talked about the impact for the generation behind us is all based off our behavior. And let me be clear. There's been a lot of change for people that look like us, and it was created by people that look like us.
Exactly.
But, you know, we did it in certain sectors. It's time to expand that spectrum and how we do that, because we are capable. We all are. And we don't even have to make this a color thing. It's a color thing really, because that's just where we are in society. But in our hearts, it's a human thing. Like, everybody's capable, no matter what your situation is, no matter what your ethnicity is, your color, whatever the case may be. You are capable. And I know your situation might not be reflective of that now, but if you could stick into it, give life some time, you'll see the rewards of your work. We all, regardless of what we do, we see results from it, right? So it's all about what results you want. Let your behavior be reflective of that. And I think that's change. And we're capable.
I think you're absolutely right. One thing I want to bring up is the fact that a lot of times people see how someone is doing and they get so caught up on that person's destination. And I want you to understand that if you saw this person, they graduated, let's say they graduated school and made $100,000 straight out of school. Look at what they did to get there, and not the fact that they look like you and that you should get there. When people say you can get here too, they mean if you put the same work in, or maybe even more, depending on who you are, because everybody's path is different, you can graduate in 4 years and get the same job. But that also means that you have to put in 4 years of work. That reference isn't the point that's going to get you the $100,000. Like, when you get to the table, are you prepared? Do you have the knowledge, information, or do you have the work ethic that's going to lead to someone seeing $100,000 worth of value in you? Essentially, they're paying you that's your value. If I get you here and I have to help you more than you're helping me, now you're thinking about this whole imposter syndrome, and you're wondering, do I belong? Now you having tough days because people are telling you you're less than, not because you actually are less than or not intelligent. You just didn't put the work in.
You wasn't prepared. And that's the thing. Like, we almost bash each other for, oh, you ain't put me on, or you ain't put me on. Like, are you ready? Snap a finger. You're in the seat today. Are you ready?
Seriously.
I figured, no, it don't work like that. Not if you want what you say you want. So yeah, I agree.
I think a great analogy is, right, also preparing yourself for those back to the wall moments. And I'll put it this way: let's say there's a billionaire. I know this billionaire because of before we built a relationship, met him at the gym. We've had mutual respect because we were both working out at the same time. So over a period of time, conversation started flowing easily. Next thing you know, we're getting drinks. Now all of a sudden we're doing business together. I come to him and say, hey, I know someone. Let's say you have your own chicken you make, and you always wanted to get brick and mortar. You wanted to get an actual restaurant. He's looking to invest in somebody. He wanted to get in the food industry. All right, that makes sense. There is a mutual understanding that he wants to invest into a restaurant and you have cooking skills.
Right.
He said, all right, I'm all for it. I trust you that character-wise he's there. Let me try the chicken. So I set it up. You bring in some chicken. It's burnt on the outside and it's raw on the inside.
Wow.
Like now he doesn't want to move forward. Why? Because the product is not where it needs to be. He doesn't see that as successful. Now I'm the bad guy because I set you up for failure because you didn't prepare. You didn't have the chicken thawed out when it should have been. You didn't season it, or you didn't have the grease set to temperature it needed to be. Like when the moment came, you weren't ready to perform.
And now that fucks you up for the next time somebody might actually be prepared.
Right.
I can't trust him because last time, you know what I mean? So,
and that happens. Think about how many people put their name down as reference, or they get a job and they want to bring in their cousin. They bring in their friend. The cousin quits after 1 day, the friend quits after 2 weeks. So now the manager's looking like you, like, that your name is attached to that.
Right. Tough.
So understand that when we're always, not always, when someone puts enough respect, I'll rephrase that. When someone respects you enough and values you enough to put their name behind you, put the energy behind it that matches the fact that you respect and value that they see something in you.
Right.
Because the greatest way to thank somebody is through your actions and being prepared. The time you put in, and we always say it on here, to pay your dues. Like paying your dues is like understanding, listen, you didn't have to stick your neck out and put your name on what I'm doing. Essentially, it boils down to your name. What value does your name have when you're trying to put someone else on? I'm going to do my best to make sure that either your name stays where it is or it's increased after this interaction, performance, however you want to label it, because that's huge. That's huge.
It is. It is. It is.
But
what do I know?
What the fuck do I know?
Man.
No, but seriously, I encourage everyone. Don't stop having a positive outlook on life. Like, if you can help someone, help them. But help doesn't always have to be putting your name behind them. Give them the information, knowledge they need. But because we always talk about, telling people that cliche, you can do whatever you put your mind to. Like, no, you can do whatever you put time in, working on, perfecting, like enhancing. You can do, whenever you put the work in, then you can reap the benefits that come with it. But outside of that, I encourage everyone to truly continue building great habits, enhancing your discipline, celebrating yourself, being kind to yourself, and use this month, whether Black or not, to just educate yourself on the history of where we came from, where we're going, and understand that you play a pivotal role in change for tomorrow.
And keep discovering that identity, right? Because what you think you are is going to be reflective in your actions. And people are going to see you kind of the same way you see yourself. So continue to build good habits, great habits, keep loving yourself, keep learning yourself, keep accepting the things that aren't so pretty. Be yourself, communicate. Happy Black History Month. Also, my man Troy Rain dropped a freestyle. He referenced something Kanye said, talking about Black Future Month. I like that. So happy Black Future Month. And let's keep pushing.
Gotta keep pushing. Keep pushing me, I'm keep pushing you. Understand that I love all y'all. Appreciate y'all, value your time. You're always tuning in and paying attention to what we're doing when you could be doing a million other things. But understand that we're not done yet. We're still going. And the year is about to get huge news coming very shortly. So understand that when it drops, you got to be in tune.
You got to be in tune. Music coming soon, man. Music coming soon. We got some heat,
man. At this point, if you don't know what's coming music-wise, then he lost.
Yeah, he lost. But there is a couple links you can click, and you'll get caught up just fine.
You have to catch up though. Get caught up
for sure.
But
for sure.
Until next time, I'm your boy Sema'j, aka Oxford Bully, aka Mr. Bad Habits, aka I drink my water on time, aka Big Sexy with the glasses.
This is your boy Hubert Leon Johnson from Plainfield, New Jersey, aka Alexa Jet on that, aka Xbox headphones, aka.
And we out.
Wow, my life's a party every day. It's a parade on weekends. Angel from 9 to 5, 5 to 9 a demon. Drunk out of my mind, securing back. Cause when the lights come on, perform. I'm black, and I'm black, and I'm proud. I eat chicken, drink candy, play ball, and listen to music, go D-Loud. Skinny jeans and something spicy on my feet, motherfucker, cause that's my style. Yeah, niggas couldn't walk a block in my shoes, let alone a fucking mile. Counted me out when I was down and broke. Now I'm up talking about a team win. Can't believe y'all had the nerve to doubt me. Like what the fuck was y'all thinking? Posting on the gram like you a cash cow, but in real life niggas be vegan. I heard you reap whatever you sow. Well, this green thumb got me eating holy water every day just to get me through the week. I need church to open up, that's my sacred place of peace. Target on my back, the price of living as a king. But when my back's against the water, only time cause when the lights come on, perform. The lights come on, perform. They send me beats, I black out, go crazy, whoop it off and chalk it. Niggas was hating before, now that y'all choked up, don't hear no talking. Now every time I drop, niggas heartbeat skip, got the world going all shit. If you sick of me now, brace yourself, cause I swear niggas about to be nauseous. Now let's go through my checklist, A1 credit, and she got ass galore. Miss Independent, never need a nigga. Get a ring from the back of the store. On grocery trips, I just answer my chip, never knowing how much it should cost. What that mean? Maj will off. Maj got the Mona Lisa picture. Venus Century in the kitchen. Watch his body with that batter who's on. My man Maj went from whipping in the kitchen to collect the Hermes dishes. He with small forms. And he woke. He understand if you wanna help your people, gotta play your role. 500 in February, 1900 3 months later. Black kids with 100K rolls. All of those kids are so humble and gifted. I hate that the world we live in is so wicked. Count on me to step up, I ain't ran a Fitbit. Pockets on poppers, I ain't talking about spinach. Talking about big chicken. Yeah, nigga, big chicken. All of this to say, if you wanna go get it, control your own story, don't let nobody else script it. Yeah, crib looking bigger than a village with the white picket. Got my neighbors livid. Fake smile every day when they not in it. And my face, fake smiling, judging how I'm living. No matter the odds, I'm gonna win. Judge if you want, don't give a shit. We all gonna die, so just let me live. Just hope that God can forgive my sins. So I drink every day just to get me through the week. I need church to open up, that's my sacred place of peace. Target on my back, the price of living as a king. But when my back's against the water, only time cause when the lights come on, perform. The lights come on, perform. They send me beats, I black out, go crazy, whoop it off and chalk it. Niggas was hating before, now that y'all choked up, don't hear no talking. Now every time I drop, niggas heartbeat skip, got the world going all shit. If you sick of me now, brace yourself, cause I swear niggas about to be nauseous.